You are officially in the loop. Welcome to In the Loop podcast. I am your host, Jordan Jo Hollabaugh, professional rodeo athlete, entrepreneur, and a full-time cowgirl. I'm married to my best friend, and we are blessed to get to do what we love every day, and that is travel around the world and rodeo. My goal on this podcast is to promote the Western industry and specifically the sport of breakaway roping. On In the Loop, we bring you behind-the-scenes stories of what real life looks like every day, from cowgirls, cowboys, industry leaders, producers, trailblazers, and all of the like, sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. You are now officially in the loop. Let's get to it. Okay, guys, so today we are back, and we're back in the loop we are here today with somebody I'm very excited about having on the podcast. Oh, you might know them, they're from Calgary Stampede. We have Miss Navada Phipps and Lane Boisjoli. Is it Boisjoli or Boisjoli? How do you say that, Lane?
Boisjoli.
Boisjoli.
Yeah,
See,
I think that there's a little controversy with even in the family. Some of us say it different, so we'll take what you said.
Boisjoli. And see, I should have that because I'm Italian, so I should know these things.
Right.
But here we are. We're talking all things Calgary Stampede, breakaway roping. We got to make our first trip as breakaway ropers last year up to the Stampede, and it was a whirlwind. It was so amazing. We literally most of us drove all night from Salt Lake City. We got through the border, which we were all scared, needless to say, that how that was going to go. That was an adventure for everybody. Got through there, got into Calgary. We had the chance to rope alongside of the team ropers. The parking was super tight. I won't mention their names. A couple of them were late to the meeting. Anyway, we got to go in there. We roped in front of an amazing crowd at Calgary, first ever year to have the breakaway roping, and you guys made that happen. So today I really just want to talk about all the things that go into breakaway roping and adding it to such a prestigious event. Navada, I just want to start with you. You are huge in the event coordination, making all of it happen behind the scenes. We were just joking earlier. Do you sprinkle a little bit of fairy dust and just, snap your fingers and make an event that is such as prestigious as Calgary happen and then add breakaway? Or how did that come to fruition?
Well, hopes and dreams, I think, is what we sprinkle a little bit of, but a lot of hard work. And we have a great team here at the Calgary Stampede. So incorporating both our staff that work in the office year round to program the rodeo, program other events such as the Rocky Mountain Cup, as well as our great volunteer team. So with leadership like Lane himself and our volunteer corps that, again, support year round on programming and making these events a success. So a lot of hard work goes into it, but with an organization such as this, with such a long history involved in it, we have great opportunity and great resources to do what we can and do our best.
Yeah. And it was amazing as a contestant that I got to walk in, show up, and get to rope. There's nothing else like it when you get to show up at a rodeo that you've dreamed of competing at for your whole entire life, and then it actually comes to fruition. So, Lane, I know that you were a huge advocate, and you always are a huge advocate for breakaway roping, obviously because you're a Boisjoli and you're tied to it. Give me a little bit of history there on just why you were such a huge advocate on getting breakaway roping into Calgary and the Rocky Mountain Cup.
Yeah, I think that, Jordan, I think that at Calgary, we really value our partnership with WPRA and PRC, and it's been a priority to bring both the breakaway as well as the team roping to our rodeo and put on a world-class event. I wouldn't say it's yes, it is a priority of mine and of our committee, but it's a priority of the Stampede as an organization, right? It's the breakaway roping, as we hear it in every podcast and every arena that we stand in, right? It's exploded. We've all seen it, right? It's exciting. It's something that fans like. It's a great event. You guys do a fantastic job showing up and being extremely professional. So it makes our lives easier putting on an event, right? So, it's the way that rodeo is going, and we're looking to stand behind the contestants and stand behind the breakaway roping as it continues to evolve and grow as a sport.
Well, and one of the questions I want to ask you guys that I don't think everybody understands, and these rodeos that we're getting to rope in, dreams come true, right? Everything we always wanted to be a part of. It's a huge endeavor. Like, just to be a part of this podcast, we have been like, I've probably talked to 10 or 20 different people, which is amazing, on the Calgary Stampede. But it's like, that's how many people are involved in all the different intricate details that go into every single thing that happens during rodeo events that we don't realize. So either one of you, I want to give you free reign here. Talk about what it was like having the discussion. Obviously, breakaway's been huge in Canada for a long time, and we've seen that growth. You know, the Canadian National Finals was one of the first places that gave breakaway, you know, a huge stage to compete at their finals. And so talk about what it's like having a rodeo of this multitude, adding another event, coming up with that money, that time, that space, all those things. Talk a little bit about what went into that and the discussions on you guys as a committee.
You think that, Jordan, when we started talking about and contemplating having the Rocky Mountain Cup, you know, starting with the team rope in the first year, right? And how do we accommodate it, and how do we logistically make this happen, but not just make it happen in the sense that we're going to put on one more event, right? Our goal is to put on a world-class, you know, event that people would be proud to come to, that it made a difference, you know, in the pocketbooks and the standings, right? We're pretty proud of the money that is available to the contestants to win at Calgary. So when we started with that, you know, I really got to commend the staff, Navada and her team, and Chad Vesplug. You know, we sat down and we literally started with a whiteboard, right? And it was empty. And how are we going to do this? And everything from what does this look like, and what are we going to call this event, to how are we going to get another 90 rigs in behind the saddle dome, and, right? And all the finite details, right down to the banners and how it's going to look, right? So it takes a huge amount of planning and effort, and, you know, years in development, right? And ultimately, you know, you sort of get judged on the 2 or 3 hours that you're in the arena at the end of the day, right? But, you know, that's something that's yeah, we're happy to be judged on. Obviously, sometimes there's hiccups, but as a professional group here, we can manage those hiccups. So.
Well, and I just want to touch on that. You know, you said a great thing and a great perspective. We're judged on the 2 to 3 hours we're in the arena. That is the summation of our event. That's everybody's perception, which is not really fair, but that's how life works, right? And so there's so much that goes into it. And I just, as a breakaway roper, I want to say thank you. As a woman in rodeo, I want to say thank you. And Navada, I want to touch on this. You know, you are advocating beside these men. I love to see men and women. We're working together, right? We're all towards the end goal, making people's dreams come true. Little boys, little girls, cowboys, cowgirls. You know, I'm partial, long live cowgirls. But talk about what it's like to be working beside these men on a committee of this stature and bringing ideas to the table, working through some of these things, implementing something that's new, obviously challenging. What's that like at the end of the day to sit down and be like, okay, we pulled this off?
It's extraordinarily gratifying, obviously. We work really hard, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier, Jordan, as the machine really that makes the Calgary Stampede happen. And everywhere from our sponsorship, our communications, our grounds crews, everything that really has effort into all of these events. And as a woman within the industry, I don't know, I just look at it as it's been an exceptional opportunity. I've learned tremendously from all of my colleagues and the people I get to work with daily. And so, I mean, I think it's just no different than you as breakaway ropers. You put in the work, and the return comes. And so when we had the opportunity, to Lane's point about our great relationships is where it really started. And our relationships that we value tremendously with the WPRA and the PRCA, and really started there. And having that great relationship as those foundations of the conversations that really helped us and supported us with the opportunity to move forward with these events. And yeah, it takes a lot of hands on deck, but where we have the experience and we have the passion, especially with our volunteer group, the extraordinary passion that these folks bring to the table really, I think, excels and sets us apart and allows these events to really grow, develop, bring on new ones as we see fit and where they make the most sense. And so it doesn't come without a lot of blood and sweat at times, and getting things just off the ground. And you may remember, Jordan, from last year is that we have a very dynamic space that we put this event on. And so there's we have stock dog competitions that are going on daily. We have heavy horse shows that are going on, and transitioning that space and making it a world-class space for our breakaway and our team ropers to compete in. It's all hands on deck, really it is. But we always look forward to that opportunity to look at our programming and what makes sense. And we know that's what our guests are asking for. They love the women in competition. And when we can bring that world-class professional level of competition to our guests, we always look forward to being able to do that.
Well, and I love the fact too that literally you say, you know, it was all hands on deck. We got there, you know, close to 2 hours before we all competed as contestants. Like, we're buzzing because we just made it through the border and nobody got, you know, patted down or nothing cool like that. And so then we get there and you guys are still putting the arena together because, like you said, you had all these events going on, and literally like 30 minutes before the doors open, you're putting the shoot in there. Like, you know, somebody once told me pressure is a privilege. And that's truly something you guys stepped up to the plate and were like, hey, yeah, give us some pressure, give us some challenges. We'll show you we can do it. But one of the neatest takeaways for me, there was a lot of firsts there for Calgary, right? First year for the Breakaway Open, Rocky Mountain Cup. Also, Miss Kate Hudson was there. One of the first years I think she's ever announced the Calgary Stampede, obviously the Rocky Mountain Cup. So there was a lot of firsts for women there. But the fans, like, it was jam-packed in there. Like, it was just, it was one of the events that I'm like, man, these people came to watch us, and it was jam-packed. So talk about the fans and the intention of Calgary and why they come to Calgary. Like, what is the reason why all these fans come to Calgary?
We have such a great opportunity with the entire offering that we are able to give, right? We welcome over 1.3 million people through our gates, through our 10-day festival and event. And so what we're able to do with the Rocky Mountain Cup, which is I think what was so important and able to draw so many people in. Yes, it's fast paced, it's exciting. There's women competing. It's a professional level, but also it was accessible. And so we found that to be very important within that space, is that it's a non-ticketed event. So it's free with their admission into park. But we had the extraordinary opportunity to expose breakaway roping and team roping to so many people that may not have actually ever seen it before, ever heard of it before. And so we're creating new fans with that. And then with the product that you as competitors brought to the table, we left with fans and we left with advocates. And that's what we're always trying to do within our sport and within our industry, is when can we change those people that are coming just maybe to check something out and leave as a fan and leave as an advocate for our sport, and talk about it in really positive ways. And so this was a great opportunity to do that to a population of people that may not have sought it out initially. And so that's where this space has such great potential, and allow and support the growth and build that foundation for breakaway roping, and look to make it a really sustainable event within our offering. And so we're always looking forward to doing that. And I know Lane and our team always have that. He mentioned it as a priority, and it really is. It's at the forefront of conversations whenever we have regarding all the things that we do, whether it be rodeo, whether it be team roping, Rocky Mountain Cup, our qualifiers that we put on. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that we're always looking to make it a great guest experience, a great competitor experience, but always looking for an opportunity for people to leave being advocates for our industry.
Absolutely. And that's something too that I learned that Calgary does. It's a little bit different. I want to touch on, you said we want these fans to come in. Maybe they showed up for an event or maybe they just showed up to come to the park, but we want them leaving as fans. And to help us as contestants build that fan base, that's been so huge for breakaway roping, not just breakaway roping, for every individual event, right? All the disciplines, timed event, rough stock, breakaway, whatever it may be, it's huge to grow this fan base, to keep rodeo alive. Long live the Cowboys. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about, in this lane, I'm going to direct this at you because I'm going to pick on you because you got breakaway ropers in your family. But as a contestant, you guys at Calgary really go above and beyond to offer more to contestants than just showing up and showing out. Like, you guys have media coverage for contestants. You try to step up and expose us to all these different elements and being in front of Calgary, the fan base, all the things. Talk about breakaway ropers as new, I will say new to the scene, right? We're new contestants at the Calgary Stampede Rocky Mountain Cup. What was your observation of what we did good, maybe what we could do better this year moving forward, and what some of your takeaways were just from us showing up and being a first-year competitor?
Jordan,
I can edit it out if
ropers
you're mean to Shelby on here. You can edit. I'm just kidding.
I have breakaway ropers in the family, and I'm not going to fall for that trap. But all kidding aside, I think that yes, in certain arenas and certain venues, breakaway roping is new. However, what we've witnessed is there is a group of competitors that are professionals in every aspect of the word, right? You guys have been around, you know how to conduct yourselves. You come in and it's not a difficult task for as staff or committee at Calgary to work with your guys' group. So I commend you guys on that. It's not as though this is the first time anybody's been there, right? You guys know how to take care of business. As far as there's always little things that we have to work on as a committee, and it's a logistical nightmare to get into a lot of rodeo grounds these days. I'm not singling out Calgary, right? It's just the reality is that a lot of these world-class events are built within the epicenter of these are big urban centers, right? And you're trying to move things in and out, right? So we always try and increase the amount of communication that we have, right? And logistically try and figure out how we can make this better year over year. It was certainly a consideration that we had this year in splitting the event over 2 nights, right? So this year we're going to have the breakaway on July 9th and the team roping on July 10th. It's going to help us be able to make things move a little smoother, right, and a little more manageable, and it's something that we look forward to. So, that's about as far as you're going to trap me.
Well, I think to Lane's point is that Jordan, you had mentioned, is there anything that we could ask of the contestants? And I think from the perspective that we often take, it's we're always looking to make ourselves better. And so understanding how we can, and we talk about our guests that are coming through the gate and their experience. Well, the contestant experience layers into that, and it's folded into that entirely. And we want to ensure that your experience is of a professional and a world-class level. We understand that it is harder to get to Calgary. It is harder to cross the border. There are more logistics that you have to figure. We understand that when you come onto our park, that there's a lot of activity going on. There's, to Lane's point, we're landlocked, right? We're right in the heart of downtown Calgary, and we're building. We're expanding great things within our park. In fact, just yesterday, we opened up over a million square foot convention center with the expansion of our BMO center opening up. And so, we're a very active site, but we still always are looking for those considerations on your experience, because it's something that you have the choice ultimately to include in your schedule. And we do look to have the best here. And so how do we make your experience great is always at the forefront of our planning. And to Lane's point is that was a huge leading indicator of deciding to split two events. We understand that from run of show, if you want to call it, we can make it happen with the two events layered in. But in reality, we understand, and it's proven last year that breakaway roping has the weight to stand on its own, and then therefore team roping having the weight to stand on its own. So let's extend that experience for our guests and offer 2 nights.
Well, and I just appreciate that because those team ropers were in our way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kidding. They were not. Like, it was a little jam-packed in there, but I didn't park, so it wasn't on me. But, you know, the fact is, I just, as a contestant, I have such a new level of gratefulness and appreciation to any committee, no matter what the stature of the event is, but especially when you have an event such as Calgary, where you have, you know, the top so many in the world are coming and the top so many in the circuit. You're kind of getting a melting pot of the best of the best. You're showing up, you're giving them a $35,000 added money purse. It's a great event. Why, you know, just to even have the chance to be a part of it. It's like, yeah, I'm going to put my name down if I can. And so I know that now there's so many little girls that are even dreaming of, hey, when can I go to Calgary? And I would love to compete there and actually get to rope there. And so as a contestant, I just want to say thank you for giving us that chance because it was like no other. Now I am going to go back this year and not be so hopefully awestruck because last year we didn't have enough time, but there is so much going on in Calgary. It's like you can't take it all in, right? I think this year we're going to maybe try to go up a day early and maybe get a piece of the Stampede in and actually experience that. So excited about that. But I just want to kind of finish with your guys' perspective, not so much as breakaway roping or anything like that, but what is your why to being on Calgary committee? Like what motivates you? What fuels you? What keeps you going? Because this is a totally, you're sacrificing so much of your time, your labor, all the things to give back. Like what is each of one of you, I want you to answer. What is your why?
Lane?
Yeah.
Lane, you go first. He has to because it's in his family.
That's great. Yeah. You know, I think that the why essentially is, you know, our family's been around rodeo our whole lives. I've got kids that are junior rodeo now, and my dad and my uncles and everybody rodeoed in the family, right? And at the end of the day, you know, I think that's something that attracts us. It's obviously something that attracts us to the sport, to a world-class event like Calgary. But you know, I think when you really comes down to it, I'm from a small town, Saskatchewan. You know, they were fortunate enough to win the rodeo of the year in the Canadian Cowboys Association out there. A friend of mine put that rodeo on, and you know, all rodeos, regardless if we're inviting 1.3 million guests through the gates or 1,000 get through the gate, they all need a committee. They all need somebody to stick up their hand and say, you know what, I'm gonna volunteer some time and I'm gonna put some effort into this thing to make it happen. And it doesn't matter how big your stage is. If somebody doesn't stick up their hand and you don't have a committee, you can't do this work and you can't put these events on. So
yeah, a great perspective. And that's what, you know, I think even as a contestant now, it's like, okay, and I say I'm getting old, but I kind of am getting old. Yuck. But it's like, how am I going to give back? You know, like I'm getting to reap these benefits right now. I'm getting to reap the seeds that people before me have gone and sown. So I'm starting to open my eyes and look back a little bit, or look forward, I guess, on where am I going to be a part of and how am I going to help continue to grow the sport?
I think you guys are doing it, Jordan. I was at a junior rodeo after the Rocky Mountain Cup last year, and maybe even on my driveway at home, they were roping the shorty dummy, and I think they were replaying a few events from the Rocky Mountain Cup, both in the breakaway with my daughter Grace and the boys on the team roping side, right? So, you know, you guys are doing it in a way that you may not even realize, right? You're creating an avenue for these kids to see the best in the world, and that's making an impact for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. All right, Miss Navada, what's your why?
You know what? I'm a born and raised Calgarian. And so the Calgary Stampede has always been within my family, whether it started out with horse racing when we used to do that back here at the Calgary Stampede years and years ago. So it's not that I was ever a competitor. It's funny enough that my background is actually in hockey. And so competing at a high level of hockey and being exposed to the opportunities that as professional athletes and elite athletes, I thrive in those environments. And so being able to be a part of that, to your point, is after retirement from your sport and your gig, it's nice to be able to be within that environment still in that competitive nature. And I guess to your point earlier, when you're working against boys, sometimes that competitive nature really comes out and really gets fired up, which I love. But you know what? It's just, again, it's being a part of something so historic within our city and having been born and raised around it. And then on that flip side is rodeo is such an important part of our entire family, even though I wasn't a competitor myself. And my husband, he was a bareback rider and current GM of the Canadian Pro Rodeo Association. So there's a lot of rodeo conversation at our table every night. And ultimately, to another point of that, it's when you're able to work hard and have a passion for something, and when you're a parent and your kids can see that and they can see that the work you put in and the effort that you put in, that there's returns at the end of it. And our return is, to Lane's point, to get to host $1.3 million or 1.3 million people coming through. And when you have 18,000 guests in our grandstand watching something that you worked so hard and spent so much time and energy on, it's pretty rewarding at the end of the day, let me tell you.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And two, I have to say, like, I feel as though everybody who is a part of these committees, especially you two, just talking to you, we have that competitive spirit within us. We're just executing it in different outlets, right? At the end of the day, we all want to win. And so I just think that that's so cool to share and appreciative on our behalf as competitors. Like, you sprinkle your fairy dust and we get to show up and do what we love to do. So that's amazing. But the reward in it is huge. And I think too, to your point of the youth impact, I know both of you are parents and giving back to your kiddos and paving the way for what's to come for them, right? And what they can look forward to and what they can be a part of, and taking off those limits to why not, here we go. And so I think that that's really neat to see and just experience firsthand and watch as they grow and evolve and what they're going to get to do in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. That's a pretty surreal thing to think about as well.
I wouldn't doubt that in maybe 10 or 15 years, we're going to see Grace Boisjoli here at the Rocky Mountain Cup and the breakaway roping. I mean, you just see, like, you talk about the youth impact on it. You see, like, within our junior high and high school rodeos, and Lane sees this firsthand every day, with the stage that you as professionals are setting for those youth that they come and get to watch and admire. Being in that position, it's a huge responsibility for you as an individual, but it's a privilege, I really think, because these kids really do look up to you, and they're setting their stage and their future based on what they're seeing you do and you accomplish. So that's the future of our sport. That's the future of everything. And so kudos to you as competitors in being in that arena and being professional and showing up. And it's really, like I said, it's really fostering our next generation. And like I said, that next generation of Boisjolis is coming in hot. I know it.
Yeah, I can't wait to hopefully I'm still around by then, get to compete against Miss Grace. But it is, and I love that reminder too, because, and I just want to share that with everybody as well. Like, we are being watched. I don't know. I think this was 4, 5, 6 years ago. The first time I ever saw this sign, and I see it all the time now, is you don't know where there's little eyes watching you in this arena and out of this arena, and you're making an impact. And so every move we make, everything we say, how we treat our horses, how we carry ourselves, how we, everything that we do, people are watching. And to know that maybe that makes an impact is huge. And it just gives me a higher sense of responsibility as competitors and athletes. And really, we are paving the way. And that's a pretty great responsibility.
Yeah, it's totally a privilege, and I agree with that. And it both in the arena, and I like your point, Jordan, about outside of the arena as well. The economic impacts that these events have on these regions and these cities, and by you as contestants coming and supporting these regions and supporting these events. And Lane talks about, it doesn't matter if it's a small town rodeo or the Calgary Stampede, you bringing your expertise and your skill to these events and then drawing people in. It doesn't matter if you're stopping for a hamburger after the rodeo at the local McDonald's, right? You're contributing to the economics of this region, and people appreciate it, and people are looking for it. And so, it's really cool to see how entire towns can get around this great sport that we love so much. It means the world to us, but to a lot of other people, it means the world to them as well.
Well, and one of the things a request for a contestant, like, could you guys give us a breakdown of all of the places that are good to eat there, because the names are different and I really don't know where to go. And I had a friend in college that she would always, I'm Italian, obviously, so then I'd be like, hey, do you want some spaghetti? And she's like, oh, I'd love to have pasta. And I was like, what is pasta? She's like, pasta, and I was like, oh, it's pasta. Yeah. So, but no, there's so many great things. All joking aside, thank you guys so much for coming on the show today and just talking a little bit about you both inside and outside of the arena, being a part of Calgary Stampede, the Rocky Mountain Cup, adding breakaway. Are there any final takeaways that you guys have that you wanted to share here in the loop?
Look forward to seeing everybody on the 9th. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming quick. We start to Navada and Dwayne and Sean and Chad and all the crew up here. We start to have daily meetings and sort of the countdown that it's coming. It's going to be here quick. We can't wait.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait either. It's less than 30 days almost away. So the countdown is officially on. I cannot wait to see both of you at Calgary. Thank you again for this opportunity, and we will see you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan. We appreciate it.